honor and privilege to welcome the Confederation of Greater Toronto Chinese Business Associations today. We are very happy to have you here joining us. It's a beautiful heat day out on the water. Looking forward to taking you out on the tour, and we again are very happy to host you today. As part of today's agenda, we are going to have some opening remarks by Mayor Lehman, followed by a presentation by our Investor team, and then of course a presentation by the Confederation of Greater Toronto Chinese Business Association. We'll then have the opportunity to have some lunch and do some networking, and then we'll head out on a bus tour of the city to highlight some of the investment opportunities in our great city that we'll be previewing in our presentation today. So to get things started, I am very happy to welcome Mayor Lehman to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you for coming today. It's a pleasure to welcome you, and I know many of you, there are a few folks here who I had the pleasure of spending 10 days with as we did a whirlwind tour of China and Hong Kong in 2012 as part of the trade mission that the Confederation organized. I did have the opportunity to meet with the leadership from your organization near the airport earlier this year, and that really highlighted to me the work that you are doing across Greater Toronto, but also how much I needed to introduce you to my home city. Part of that meeting was really in my chair, or my role as chair of Ontario's Big City Mayors Caucus, to talk about some of the issues affecting both your community and the broader business community. But today we have the opportunity of sort of showcasing Barrie to you, and we hope to give you messages that you can bring back to your own membership. If there's a takeaway from today, it's we hope that you talk about this. We hope that you see things that you'll want to talk about. And on that note, we are going to begin with a presentation which sort of gives you a bit of Barrie 101. But a couple of things I wanted to mention off the top in my welcome. This place sort of sells itself, doesn't it? I got married about here. My wedding reception was here. Well, I guess technically I got married at the church, but we had the reception here. And this particular spot, this facility, and this waterfront are very much central to what Barrie is all about. We're a waterfront community, and what is so unique here, and it's even a little different, better, I think, than some of the waterfront communities on Lake Ontario, in that all of the land on our waterfront is in public ownership, right from Minette's Beach, which is a city park, all the way around the waterfront to the eastern boundary of the city of Barrie. There's 6 kilometers of uninterrupted public ownership of the waterfront, and that's a trail, a multi-use trail on the North Shore. In the central waterfront, it's our parks, Centennial Park, Heritage Park, and here at Allendale Station Park, the South Shore Centre, and so forth. But we're a waterfront community, and much of our civic life revolves around the events that happen on the waterfront actually year-round. Pretty obvious that with weather like this, you want to be outside, and we have something virtually every weekend. But in the winter time, and indeed in the shoulder seasons, we have major festivals, including Winterfest here, which is one of Ontario's top 100 festivals, and that is at the coldest time in the winter, in the middle of February. You got to embrace it. When you're in central Ontario, we have 4 seasons. They range from 40 degrees above zero to 40 degrees below zero, and people who live here really do embrace that lifestyle. I often describe Barrie as being that perfect spot halfway between Bay Street and the dock. We are located between Canada's recreational playground in Muskoka and the economic engine of the country, the Greater Toronto Area. We have seen in recent years, especially in the last year, a real estate market that, frankly, we haven't seen before. Before I came over here, oddly enough, I was on the phone with an executive in the private sector. We were talking about a couple of things to do with this business. He said, well, it's interesting. I bought a waterfront property on one of the little streets just west of here in what's called Minette's Point. He said, I bought it thinking I was going to move there, and I paid $760,000 for it in May. And he said somebody came along and just offered me $900 for it, so I took it. That's 4 months later. And those sort of stories we're hearing a lot. And the Real Estate Association here, just to give you a sense, their July numbers the average price for homes in the MLS system was up 16.5% year over year this year from last. Now this is a story that's going to be familiar to all of you because you're seeing the same sort of activity in your own markets. In Barrie, this is a little more unusual, and I think it speaks to the connection now into the Greater Toronto Area economy, and certainly the fact that living here is pretty good, and a lot of people would like to do it. We also have a shortage of supply, to be frank, right now, and that's creating a lot of opportunities in real estate investment for both rental and condo development. And so we're seeing, and you will see as we tour the city, mid-rise townhouse, mid-rise condo development, apartment development in areas of the city where we haven't seen that activity before. And places like Essa Road, which is an interchange on Highway 400, the arterial road itself is seeing a large number of development applications and a number that are actually under construction, quite large projects under construction. The other thing I would highlight to you right now is that we've worked very hard as a council and as a community to try and make Barrie as friendly for business as we possibly can. Whenever you're in a position of being a regulator of anything, you can always improve your processes and make it easier for companies to do business here. But the business ambassadors group who are with us, many of whom are with us today, and I think, Stephanie, you're going to introduce the individuals who are here, are part of a broader effort that we are making, reaching out with our business community to try and be as job-focused and business-oriented as we can be in terms of opening the doors to new companies and the expansion of our existing companies. And I would tell you, one of the key things that we control, of course, is taxes. Recently, there's a study that looks at all municipalities across Ontario and their tax burdens and their cost of doing business. Our industrial taxes for all cities over 100,000 Barries are the very lowest in the province. And it's a point of pride for us, and it is something we wish to continue. We've also had some recent studies done by KPMG who look at competitive advantage, and I know our presentation is going to talk about that. So I'm not going to steal any more thunder from our staff, but the message I really wanted to give to you as representatives of your community, as the leadership of the Chinese business associations, is this is a community that is geared for investment, where the economy is moving very, very quickly, and that real estate market is indicative of a continually growing population and a community whose story over the past 60 years has been growth. We were a very small central Ontario town not that long ago when I was growing up here in the 1970s. And today we're a medium-sized city. If we were sitting here in the evening, we would be looking at the GO trains that park across the street because we are the end of the Barrie line here at Allendale Waterfront. And that train and the businesses that are in this room and the work that is done in the community increasingly is tied into a much broader regional economy of the Greater Toronto Area. So we welcome you today. Thank you very much. And on behalf of Council, Councillor Rose Ramita is here, and Councillor Sergio Morales. Thanks for joining us, Sergio. I know they would join with me as members of Council saying we see our job to make it as easy as possible to start and grow business in this community and to encourage investment. We hope we're doing some good things, and we will continue to try and do things better. But we welcome the opportunity to talk to you about that today, and thank you very much for spending some time with us.